They told me to come in early for my performance review. Instead of the promotion I'd earned, they handed me a termination letter. Their fatal mistake? Assuming those 7 accounts belonged to the firm and not to the man who'd spent 3 years building relationships they couldn't replicate. By lunchtime, I'd walked out with every single one. This is how you dismantle a company that thought you were replaceable. My name is Bernard Whitby, and for 3 years I carried Thompson & Associates on my back. 42 years old, divorced, living in a modest apartment in Chicago's West Loop because I'd poured everything into a career I believed would reward loyalty. That Wednesday morning started with an email that made me smile. Bernard, please arrive at 7:30 a.m. for your annual review and compensation discussion. Compensation discussion. After landing the Castellano portfolio last month, a $15 million account everyone said was impossible, I knew this meant senior partner, maybe even my name added to the door. The morning commute felt different. I grabbed coffee from my usual spot, walked past the Willis Tower, and felt like I'd finally made it in this city. The receptionist wouldn't meet my eyes when I signed in. Strange, but I attributed it to early morning fog. Our chief operating officer, James Rutherford, stood outside the executive conference room, checking his watch. He didn't smile when he saw me. Inside, 3 people waited: James, Patricia from Human Resources, and someone from Legal whose name I'd never learned. No champagne, no handshake. Just a folder with my name on it, sitting in the center of an otherwise empty table. Bernard, have a seat, Patricia said, using that voice HR people practice for delivering bad news. I remained standing. What's going on? James finally looked at me, and I recognized the expression. Guilt mixed with cowardice. The firm is restructuring. We're consolidating the wealth management division. Consolidating. I let the word hang there. I manage 7 of your top 15 accounts. The decision is final, the legal representative said, sliding papers toward me. We're offering standard severance, 4-week salary, benefits through next month, and a generous letter of recommendation. I looked at the termination date. Today. Effective immediately. You're firing me during my review meeting. Patricia shifted in her chair. We need you to surrender company property. Laptop, phone, building access. Security is waiting to escort you to your workspace. Then it clicked. Dylan Carpenter, the 28-year-old with an economics degree from Northwestern and 0 practical experience, the one who'd been shadowing me for 6 weeks, asking detailed questions about client preferences, meeting schedules, communication styles, the one whose uncle sat on Thompson & Associates' board of directors. Who's taking my accounts? I asked, already knowing. James's hesitation confirmed everything. Dylan will be transitioning into an elevated role. He's been training extensively. The kid who'd called a municipal bond a city IOU 2 weeks ago, who'd shown up late to a breakfast meeting with Raymond Castellano, costing me an hour of relationship repair. I need to contact my clients, I said. That won't be necessary. We're handling all transitions internally. Patricia's smile belonged on a wax figure. Your email access was terminated at 7:00 a.m. Before I'd even walked through the door. They'd erased me from the system before telling me I no longer existed. Sign the severance agreement, the legal rep said. The non-compete is standard. 18 months, same industry, 50-mile radius. I almost laughed. I never signed a non-compete when you hired me. His jaw tightened. It's incorporated into the severance package. Then I decline your package. The room went still. They'd expected compliance. Good old Bernard, always reliable, always following protocol. Security is outside, James said, standing. This needs to happen now. I walked to the door, then turned back. You might want to call Raymond Castellano. He specifically chose Thompson & Associates because of our relationship. Same with Fiona Monroe, the Fitzgerald brothers, Angela Brennan, and Robert Chen. Oh, and Dylan should know that Raymond only conducts business before 8:00 a.m. He's particular about that. James's face drained of color. Those names represented $73 million in managed assets. Also, I added, Fiona's daughter just started at Yale. She'll appreciate a card. And Robert's father passed away last month. He's still grieving. Might need someone who actually remembers these things matter. I left them with their paperwork and their restructuring and their complete inability to understand what they'd just destroyed. 2 security guards I'd greeted every morning for 3 years stood in the hallway. Thomas, the younger one, looked at the floor as he followed me to my office. The walk through the trading floor felt like a funeral march. Conversations stopped. Computer screens suddenly became fascinating. Everyone knew what was happening, but corporate survival meant pretending otherwise. My desk looked exactly as I'd left it yesterday. Coffee mug still sitting there. Notes for today's meeting with the Fitzgerald brothers still visible on my monitor. Except Dylan Carpenter now occupied my chair, scrolling through my files with the confidence of someone who'd never earned anything himself. "Bernard," he said, standing quickly. "This is awkward. I want you to know I didn't ask for this." "Get up! I'm just trying to make the transition smooth. Get out of my chair." He moved aside, and I began the humiliating process of packing 3 years into a cardboard box. The plant from my first client, awards from industry conferences, photos from client dinners where I'd believed I was building something permanent. That's when I noticed a printed document on my desk. Dylan's transition plan, probably left by accident. 7 of my accounts listed with notes about modernizing communication and implementing fresh strategies. Fresh strategies. He'd lasted 10 minutes in a meeting with Fiona Monroe before she'd politely asked him to let the adults talk. 15 minutes, Thomas said quietly. "I'm sorry, Bernard. This isn't right." I nodded, continuing to pack. My personal laptop went into the box. My planner, filled with 3 years of handwritten notes about client preferences, family details, important dates, relationships that couldn't be transferred through a memo. My company phone was gone, but my personal cell sat in the desk drawer. I'd used it for years to be more accessible to clients, building connections that existed outside Thompson & Associates infrastructure. I slipped it into my pocket. "Bernard," a voice called. "Jennifer from accounting, holding a folder. Final expense reports need your signature." I flipped through them. Dinners with clients, flights to conferences, thousands spent building relationships Thompson & Associates was now stealing. "Actually, Jennifer," I said loud enough for nearby desks to hear, "there's an error. The Castellano group dinner from last week shows 8 people. Only Raymond and I attended. Might want to correct that $900 overcharge." Her face flushed. The executives had been padding expenses for years. Dylan appeared again. "I was hoping we could schedule a transition meeting, maybe go over the account specifics. My consulting rate is $400 an hour, 3-hour minimum. But you're being terminated." "Exactly. Which means any knowledge transfer happens on my terms, or you figure it out yourself." His mouth opened, closed. Behind him, I saw the whiteboard where I'd mapped quarterly strategies for each client. I walked over and erased everything. 3 years of planning gone in 30 seconds. "You can't do that," Dylan protested. "I just did. That's my intellectual property. My strategies. Not Thompson & Associates." Back at my desk, I finished packing. The box felt lighter than 3 years should weigh. As Thomas escorted me toward the elevator, I passed the break room. A cake sat on the counter, "Welcome to senior management, Dylan," in blue frosting. They'd celebrated my replacement before firing me. At the elevator, I handed Thomas my building access badge. "Take care of yourself." "Bernard," he said quietly. I heard them talking. "They think the clients will stay because of the Thompson name. They're wrong." The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside with my box and my phone and 3 years of relationships they thought they owned. As the doors closed, I saw James rushing toward Dylan's desk, his face tight with panic. Someone had already called. In the lobby, I set the box on a bench and checked my personal phone. Dozens of messages waited. Clients who'd heard through the corporate grapevine. People who'd been told their accounts were being reassigned. Raymond Castellanos' text was first. "Just got an automated email. Call me immediately." I looked up at the Thompson & Associates logo etched into the marble wall. 3 years of 70-hour weeks, canceled plans, relationships built on trust and genuine care. They'd locked me out at 7 a.m., confident that would be enough. They were about to learn how wrong they were. My apartment had never felt more like a refuge. I dropped the box by the door and went straight to my home office. A spare bedroom where I'd spent countless nights finishing proposals Thompson and Associates took credit for. I opened my laptop and found a file I'd labeled Personal Network Documentation, not client financial data. I wasn't stupid enough to steal proprietary information. This was relationship intelligence, the kind you couldn't download from any database. Raymond Castellano, early riser, only communicates 6:08 a.m. Lost his daughter in a skiing accident 4 years ago. Never schedules meetings near the anniversary. Drinks espresso, hates presentations, loves hand-drawn concepts. Tests new advisors by asking about tax-exempt bonds. If you can't explain municipal advantages in 90 seconds, you're done. Fiona Monroe runs marathons, makes decisions during her post-run clarity. Catch her between miles 6 and 8, and she'll consider anything reasonable. Her assistant Karen screens everything ruthlessly. Remember Karen's son's soccer schedule, and you're golden. Daughter just started at Yale, studying environmental law. The Fitzgerald brothers, Thomas and William, they compete constantly but present united fronts to outsiders. Never put them in a room without a mediator. Email both simultaneously or they'll assume conspiracy. They test advisors by ordering different coffee, then switching cups to see if you notice. Angela Brennan, vegetarian, allergic to latex, absolutely inflexible about both. Runs a non-profit for literacy. Her daughter's wedding is in 3 months. She values advisors who remember personal milestones over those who only talk returns. I studied each entry, remembering the hours spent learning these details. Not through corporate training, but through genuine conversation and actually caring about them as people. My phone buzzed constantly. I'd silenced all notifications except calls and texts, so every vibration meant something real. Raymond had called 4 times. Fiona left a voicemail. Even the Fitzgerald brothers had sent a joint text. What's happening? Dylan Carpenter just called us, but I wasn't ready to respond. First, I needed documentation. I opened a new document, Professional Relationships Predating Thompson and Associates Employment, because here's what their legal team had missed. I'd known Robert Chen before joining the firm. We'd served on the same charitable board. Fiona Monroe and I had met at an investment conference 2 months before Thompson recruited me. These weren't just clients. They were my professional network. I pulled physical files from my cabinet, business cards from conferences, personal thank you notes sent to my home, holiday cards, 3 years of relationship building that existed outside Thompson's infrastructure. My personal email told the rest of the story. Hundreds of exchanges with clients from my Gmail, sent during evenings and weekends when Thompson's servers were down or when clients needed immediate responses. The timestamp on Raymond's first personal email, 6:47 a.m. 2 years ago. Bernard, I know it's early, but I trust your judgment. Call when you can. Not Thompson's judgment, mine. I screenshot everything, creating a trail of relationships that transcended employment contracts. Then I noticed something that made me laugh. Actually laugh for the first time all morning. In my effort to be thorough, I'd created detailed client profiles over the years, updating them quarterly. But I'd stored them in my personal cloud, not Thompson's system. Every preference, every strategy, every relationship detail, all mine. Dylan Carpenter was operating blind, and he didn't even know it. My phone rang. Linda, my former assistant, calling from her personal cell. Bernard, I'm in the parking garage, she whispered. Dylan's having a breakdown. Raymond Castellano called asking about the annual contribution, and Dylan has no idea what that means. The annual contribution, Raymond's code for his daughter's memorial scholarship fund. We'd established it together, working through the details while he grieved. It gets worse, Linda continued. Fiona's assistant called to confirm your breakfast Friday at that place she likes. When Dylan tried to take the meeting, Karen said Fiona doesn't meet with strangers and hung up. I smiled at my laptop screen. 3 years of careful relationship building couldn't be transferred with a title. Thanks for the update, Linda. Bernard, are you taking them with you? They were never Thompson's to begin with. After hanging up, I stood and stretched. My phone kept buzzing. 7 clients who just discovered their trusted advisor had been unceremoniously dumped. 7 relationships built on respect and genuine care. I picked up my phone and looked at the messages. It was 10:30 a.m. By noon, I'd have spoken to all of them. Thompson and Associates thought they'd fired me. In reality, they'd set me free. I started with Raymond. He answered before the first ring finished. "Bernard, what the hell is this?" Some child called saying he's my new advisor. He didn't even know about the foundation. The foundation, our code for his daughter's memorial fund. I'd helped him structure it, sitting in his office while he cried about the daughter he'd lost. "Raymond, I was terminated this morning. Effective immediately. Dylan Carpenter is taking over your account." Silence. Then, "Where are you now?" "Home. Figuring out next steps. Meet me at Aurelio's in 30 minutes. Aurelio's was our usual spot, a quiet Italian place near the Loop where Raymond conducted real business. I'll be there. My second call went to Fiona Monroe. She was mid-run but stopped when she heard my voice. "Bernard. Karen told me some stranger tried to schedule breakfast at a steakhouse. I'm vegetarian, not a stranger. I was let go this morning. Thompson is restructuring. Dylan is your new account manager. The intern who couldn't calculate compound interest last month? Are they insane?" I kept my voice steady. "I'm exploring independent options. Send me your proposal today. I don't care what it costs." The third call was trickiest. The Fitzgerald brothers valued stability above everything. I called both simultaneously using a conference feature. "Thomas, William, I need 2 minutes. Thompson terminated me this morning. Your accounts have been reassigned to Dylan Carpenter. You deserve to know immediately." Thomas spoke first. "The nephew? That's the one." William's voice was hard. "What's your plan?" "Independent wealth management. Same strategies, lower overhead, better attention." "Send us a proposal," they said simultaneously. "Tomorrow." 3 down. Angela Brennan answered while shopping for her daughter's wedding. "Bernard, I just got the strangest voicemail from someone named Dylan. He suggested we meet at a seafood restaurant." I winced. "Angela, I was released from Thompson this morning. Dylan is taking over. He clearly didn't read your profile. I'm allergic to seafood, and I'm vegetarian. What kind of research did this person do?" "None. He assumed the Thompson name was enough. It's not. Send me your information. I'm interested." 4 for 4. The remaining 3 clients, Robert Chen, Margaret Sullivan, and David Ortega, all responded within the hour. All wanted to meet. All questioned Thompson's judgment. By 11:45 a.m., I was sitting across from Raymond at Aurelio's. He looked older than his 58 years, the way he always did when discussing serious matters. "I've been with Thompson for 6 years, he said, stirring his espresso. "Know why I stayed? Tell me." "You. Not their platform, not their reputation. You understood what the money represented. Who it honored. Raymond. My attorney can have us out of that contract by end of day. I assume you're going independent?" I nodded. "Whitby Wealth Management. Filing paperwork this afternoon." "Good. I want to be your first official client. What's your rate?" "I haven't. Whatever Thompson was getting, I'll pay you directly. Eliminate the middleman." My phone buzzed. Fiona had sent a text, "Contract terminated with Thompson. Waiting for your proposal." Raymond saw my expression. "Others jumping?" "Fiona, the Fitzgerald brothers are meeting me at 2. Angela wants documentation. Robert, Margaret, and David are all asking questions. That's 7 clients, Bernard. How much in total assets?" "Roughly $73 million. He raised his espresso cup. To Thompson's spectacular mistake. We spent the next hour outlining transition plans. Raymond's lawyer would handle the contract termination, citing Thompson's material breach of service quality, language I'd insisted on including 2 years ago. By the time I left Aurelio's, 4 more meetings were scheduled. Fiona at her office at 1 p.m., the Fitzgerald brothers at a neutral conference room at 2 p.m., Angela for coffee at 3:30 p.m., the others throughout the rest of the week. In my car, I checked messages. Linda had sent another update. Dylan's been in James's office for an hour. Legal is here. They've lost Raymond, Fiona, and the Fitzgeralds confirmed. Then a text from an unknown number, "Mr. Whitby. This is Robert Chen." I understand there's been a change at Thompson. I'd appreciate a call when convenient. 4 hours ago, they thought they were removing dead weight, promoting their chosen successor, streamlining operations. They'd locked me out at 7 a.m., assuming I'd vanish quietly. Instead, I was about to take 7 of their top accounts before most people finished lunch, not through theft or manipulation. Simply because Thompson had forgotten the fundamental truth: people don't hire firms. They hire people they trust. My phone rang. James Rutherford calling from his personal cell. I let it go to voicemail, then listened. Bernard, there seems to be some confusion about the transitions. We'd like to discuss a consulting arrangement to facilitate smooth account transfers. Please call immediately. I deleted the message and called Robert Chen instead. Some transitions weren't meant to be smooth. By 4 p.m., Thompson & Associates was in complete meltdown. I knew because Linda had abandoned her parking garage whispers for direct calls from her car. Bernard, it's chaos. They've lost Raymond, Fiona, the Fitzgeralds, and Angela confirmed. Dylan's been removed from all accounts pending review. I was between meetings, sitting in my car outside Angela Brennan's office. The afternoon had been a whirlwind of handshakes, strategy discussions, and signed letters of intent. Whitby Wealth Management had gone from concept to reality in 6 hours. There's more, Linda continued. James Rutherford flew in Thompson's CEO from New York. Dylan's uncle is demanding answers. They're calling it the worst single-day loss in company history. Is that all? I knew the number was higher. You got Robert Chen too, and Margaret Sullivan. That's 6. Meeting David Ortega at 5. That'll make 7. Jesus, Bernard. That's the entire top tier. They're saying you've destroyed the firm. They destroyed themselves. I'm just landing somewhere safer. My phone beeped. Patricia from HR calling. Linda, I've got another call. Good luck. And Bernard? Everyone here is rooting for you. I switched lines. Patricia. Bernard, we need to discuss this situation professionally. Thompson is prepared to offer you a senior partnership position, significant increase in compensation, and equity stake. Please come in immediately. Partnership. 3 years of killing myself to drive their success, and it took a $73 million loss for them to recognize my value. I saved the voicemail without responding. At 5:15 p.m., David Ortega signed his letter of intent with Whitby Wealth Management. He was the most cautious of my clients, the one who analyzed everything twice. Bernard, I've had 4 calls from Thompson in the past 3 hours. James Rutherford, then Dylan, then some CEO I've never met. They seem concerned. I imagine they are. Dylan couldn't answer basic questions about my portfolio strategy. He didn't even know about my daughter's trust fund. Everyone knew about David's daughter. She had cerebral palsy, and her care required specific financial planning. What do you need from me, David? A contract. Today, if possible. I'll have it to you by tonight. 7 for 7. Every major client had chosen me over Thompson & Associates. $73 million in assets under management, all moving to my firm within 60 days. Linda texted one final update. Emergency board meeting. Dylan's uncle is threatening to pull his investment. James might be fired. CEO is demanding to know how they lost $73 million in one day. I pulled up my new business account. Raymond's retainer had already hit. Fiona's would clear tomorrow. By week's end, I'd have more capital than I'd earned in 3 years at Thompson. But it wasn't about money. It was about Raymond trusting me with his daughter's legacy. Fiona believing I understood her values. The Fitzgerald brothers knowing I was the only one who could manage their dynamics. Angela letting me into her family's important moments. Thompson had thought these relationships were company assets, names in a database that could be reassigned at will. They'd locked me out of their systems at 7 a.m., confident that would control the outcome. By 6 p.m., they'd learned otherwise. 7 clients, $73 million in assets, and 3 years of relationships, all walking away from the firm that never valued the man who built them. My phone rang again. James Rutherford, CEO, calling personally. This would be interesting. I answered on the 3rd ring. Mr. Whitby, I think we need to discuss this misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. Your company terminated me during my review. I've started my own firm. Clients have independently chosen to follow. That's business. His pause lasted long enough that I wondered if we'd been disconnected. What will it take to make this right? Nothing you're willing to offer. Try me. I thought about it. Public apology? James's resignation? Dylan's humiliation? None of it mattered anymore. Your firm gave Dylan my job because of his connections, not his competence. That tells me everything about Thompson's values. My clients deserve better. We could pursue legal action, you could try. But while your lawyers file paperwork, I'll be managing portfolios. Your choice. I hung up before he could respond. Some bridges were meant to burn, and I'd brought plenty of matches. The legal threats arrived like clockwork. By Thursday morning, 3 different cease and desist letters had landed in my inbox, each more desperate than the last. Rachel Morrison, my attorney, was having the time of her life. They're grasping, she told me over coffee at her office. First, they claimed non-compete violations that don't exist. Then they alleged theft of proprietary information without specifying what you supposedly stole. Now they're trying tortious interference. She pulled up a document on her laptop. See this clause? Employee acknowledges that any professional relationships predating employment remain personal networks. You insisted on that language. I had. 3 years ago, I'd been paranoid about protecting my network. Now that paranoia was paying dividends. We're not just defending, Rachel continued. We're countersuing. Wrongful termination, unpaid bonuses, defamation. They want a fight? They'll get one. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Whitby, this is Michael Chen from the Financial Observer. I'm writing about the mass client exodus from Thompson and Associates. Would you comment? I glanced at Rachel, who nodded. I can confirm I've established Whitby Wealth Management. I'm grateful for the clients who've chosen to continue our professional relationships. Beyond that, I'm focused on serving their needs. Sources say Thompson lost $73 million after terminating you. Can you confirm? Client decisions are confidential. You'd need to ask them directly. After hanging up, Rachel smiled. Perfect. Professional, factual, and you let them destroy themselves without saying a negative word. By noon, the Observer article was online. Thompson and Associates hemorrhages assets after firing key manager. They'd interviewed sources who painted a picture of nepotism, panic, and catastrophic judgment. Dylan Carpenter was described as unavailable for comment pending internal review. Linda texted screenshots from inside Thompson. The office was imploding. Employees were updating LinkedIn profiles. Other clients were questioning their account assignments. But the real victory came at 2:30 p.m. when my phone rang with a Boston number. Bernard, this is Martin Fletcher. We've never met, but Raymond Castellano gave me your information. I'm looking for new wealth management, and your reputation precedes you. I appreciate that, Martin. What kind of portfolio are we discussing? $22 million. Currently with Thompson, actually. But after hearing what happened to Raymond and the others, I'm exploring alternatives. By end of business Thursday, I had 3 new client inquiries, all referrals from my original 7. Thompson wasn't just losing my accounts. They were losing the trust that generated new business. Rachel's phone rang. She listened, her expression shifting to amusement. That was Thompson's legal counsel. They want to settle. Settlement? They'll drop all legal threats, pay your full annual bonus, and provide a stellar reference if you sign mutual non-disparagement. I thought about Raymond's fury when Dylan couldn't explain his daughter's foundation, Fiona's assistant hanging up on strangers, the Fitzgerald brothers group text asking what the hell was happening. No deal, I said. Rachel blinked. You're certain? This makes everything clean. They fired me during a bonus meeting, tried to steal my relationships, threatened lawsuits, and now want me silent? No. Let them live with the consequences. She grinned. I was hoping you'd say that. My phone lit up with another call. James Rutherford, still trying. I answered. James, Bernard, please. The board is demanding answers. Thompson's CEO is threatening to restructure the entire Chicago office. We need to resolve this. There's nothing to resolve. You made a choice. I made mine. The clients made theirs. Dylan's been terminated. I've been demoted. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted was recognition 3 years ago. Partnership when I earned it. Respect instead of replacement. What I wanted was to be valued for the $30 million in annual revenue I generated. What you're experiencing is just the market correcting itself. The board wants to know what it takes to get the clients back. They can't. Those relationships were never yours to lose. I hung up and looked at Rachel. How long before other employees realize they're expendable? Already happening. I got a call from a headhunter friend. 4 other senior managers have reached out about exit strategies. Thompson's about to face an exodus that makes your clients look like the opening act. My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. James just resigned. Dylan's uncle pulled his board investment. CEO is cleaning house. Everyone's calling you the one who got away. I smiled at the irony. They'd tried to erase me, to slot in a younger, cheaper, more controllable version. Instead, they'd created a legend and destroyed themselves in the process. Friday afternoon, 1 p.m. The private room at Gibson's Steakhouse overlooking downtown Chicago. 7 people sat around the table, representing $73 million in managed assets and 3 years of relationships that no corporate restructuring could touch. Raymond raised his water glass. To terrible decisions and the opportunities they create. Fiona laughed. To HR departments who think connections matter more than competence. To remembering our coffee orders, the Fitzgerald brothers said in unison. Angela smiled. To advisors who actually care about our families. Robert, Margaret, and David nodded in agreement. We weren't just celebrating contracts. This lunch marked the birth of something bigger, Whitby Wealth Management, built on the idea that clients were people, not portfolio numbers. I have news, Raymond said. Thompson tried to sue me for breach of contract. My lawyer's response was beautiful. Apparently, when you fire someone during their bonus meeting and replace them with incompetence, you've materially breached first. Fiona pulled out her phone. Speaking of Thompson, look at their stock price. Down 18% this week. The financial press was calling it the Whitby effect. There's more, Fiona continued. 6 other firms have contacted me this week. They all asked the same question, is your advisor taking new clients? I am, I said. But I'm being selective. The conversation flowed naturally into strategy, market analysis, and detailed planning. No corporate buzzwords, just 7 successful people trusting someone who'd earned it. My phone buzzed. Linda texting, new CEO just announced complete management overhaul. Dylan's gone. James is gone. Someone put a plant on your old desk with a sign in memory of competence. I showed the message to the table. Even the Fitzgerald brothers smiled. You know what's funny? Raymond leaned back. Thompson's CEO called me yesterday, offered to rehire you at triple salary if I'd return. As if this was about money. What did you tell him? That Dylan cried in Robert's office. That he tried to schedule Fiona at a steakhouse. That he asked Margaret if the trust fund thing was really necessary. His expression hardened. Then I told him about Sarah. Sarah, Raymond's daughter, whose death had reshaped his entire approach to wealth. The foundation Dylan had reduced to that thing. He hung up on me. Raymond finished. The waiter brought our lunch, carefully selected dishes accommodating everyone's preferences, timed between meetings, with attention to details that proved care and respect. As we ate, I thought about Wednesday morning, walking into that conference room expecting recognition, receiving termination instead. How Dylan had been at my desk before security escorted me out. How they'd locked me out at 7:00 a.m., confident that would be enough. James was gone. Dylan was gone. Thompson and Associates was hemorrhaging talent and reputation, their future uncertain, all because they'd believed relationships could be owned rather than earned. One more thing, Raymond said as lunch wound down. I've been talking to colleagues, private equity managers, family offices, hedge fund advisors. They're all asking the same question. Who's Bernard Whitby? And is he accepting new clients? Fiona laughed. Get in line. I've already referred 3 friends. 4. Angela added. The Fitzgerald brothers looked at each other in their telepathic way. 8. Possibly 9. I looked around the table at 7 people who'd chosen loyalty over convenience, relationships over corporate brands, trust over organizational charts. In 4 days, they'd helped me transform from a terminated employee to a business owner with a waiting list. Thank you, I said. All of you. Stop, Raymond interrupted. We didn't do you a favor. You saved us from Dylan Carpenter. That's worth any transition hassle. We finished lunch at 2:45 p.m., signing final paperwork that made Whitby Wealth Management official. 7 clients, $73 million under management, and a future that belonged to me. As we prepared to leave, Fiona raised one last toast with her sparkling water. To Thompson and Associates, may their failure remind every firm what happens when you mistake people for property. Outside, Chicago's April wind hit hard. But I didn't mind. 4 days ago, I'd left this downtown area with a cardboard box and a security escort. Now I walked out as founder of my own firm, with clients who'd followed me through corporate threats and legal intimidation. In business, relationships aren't just important, they're everything. Thompson and Associates had called me in for a bonus meeting and handed me termination instead. They'd thought they were cutting costs, making room for the next generation, streamlining operations. Instead, they'd given me the greatest gift imaginable: freedom to build something real with people who valued trust over org charts, competence over connections, and relationships over revenue reports. $73 million, 7 clients, and one unforgettable lesson. When you fire the person holding your business together, don't be surprised when it all falls apart. By Friday evening, Whitby Wealth Management was officially thriving. Thompson and Associates was officially dying. And Dylan Carpenter was officially learning what happens when nepotism meets reality. The best revenge isn't just success. It's the kind of success that reveals exactly what your former employer lost when they let you go. And they'd lost everything that mattered, one relationship at a time. Thank you for listening to this story. I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment below and let me know what city or country you're tuning in from. I love connecting with listeners around the world. If you enjoyed this tale of corporate karma, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever experienced something similar in your workplace? I'd love to hear your story in the comments.